2 Kings chapter 17. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, Hoshea, son of Elah, became king of Israel. He ruled in Samaria for 9 years. As far as God was concerned, he lived a bad life, but not nearly as bad as the kings who had preceded him. Then Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, attacked. Hoshea was already a puppet of the Assyrian king and regularly sent him tribute. But Shalmaneser discovered that Hoshea had been operating traitorously behind his back, having worked out a deal with King So of Egypt. And, adding insult to injury, Hoshea was way behind on his annual payments of tribute to Assyria. So the king of Assyria arrested him and threw him in prison, then proceeded to invade the entire country. He attacked Samaria and threw up a siege against it. The siege lasted 3 years. In the 9th year of Hoshea's reign, the king of Assyria captured Samaria and took the people into exile in Assyria. He relocated them in Halah, in Gozan, along the Habor River, and in the towns of the Medes. The exile came about because of sin. The children of Israel sinned against God, their God, who had delivered them from Egypt, and the brutal oppression of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. They took up with other gods, fell in with the ways of life of the pagan nation God had chased off, and went along with whatever their kings did. They did all different kinds on the sly, things offensive to their God, then openly and shamelessly built local sex and religious shrines at every available site. They set up their sex and religious shrines, symbols, at practically every crossroads. Everywhere you looked, there was smoke from their pagan offerings to the deities, the identical offerings that had gotten the pagan nations off into exile. They had accumulated a long list of evil actions, and God was fed up with their persistent worship of gods carved out of deadwood or shaped out of clay, even though God had plainly said, "Don't do this ever." God had taken a stand against Israel and Judah, speaking clearly through countless holy prophets and seers time and time again. Turn away from your evil way of life. Do what I tell you and have been telling you in the revelation I gave your ancestors, and of which I kept reminding you ever since through my prophets, through my servants, the prophets. But they wouldn't listen. If anything, they were even more bullheaded than their stubborn ancestors. If that's possible, they were contemptuous of these instructions, the solemn and holy covenant he had made with their ancestors, and of this repeated reminders and warnings. They lived a nothing life and became nothings, just like the pagan people all around them. They were well warned. God said, "Don't," but they did it anyway. They threw out everything God, their God, had told them, and replaced him with 2 statue god shaped like bull-calves, and then a phallic pole for the whole god Asherah. They worshipped cosmic forces, sky gods and goddesses, and frequented the sex and religion shrines of Baal. They even sank so low as to offer their own sons and daughters as a sacrificial burnt offering. They indulged in all the black arts and magic and sorcery. In short, they prostituted themselves to every kind of evil available to them, and God had had enough. God was so thoroughly angry that he got rid of them, got them out of the country for good until only one tribe was left, Judah. Judah actually wasn't much better, For Judah also failed to keep God's commands, falling into the same way of life that Israel had adopted. God rejected everyone connected with Israel, made life hard for them, and permitted anyone with the mind to exploit them to do so. And then this final no, as he threw them out of his sight. Back at the time God ripped Israel out of their place in the family of David, they had made Jeroboam, son of Nebat, king. Jeroboam debauched Israel, turned them away from serving God, and led them into a life of total sin. The children of Israel went along with all the sins that Jeroboam did, never murmured so much as a word of protest. In the end, God spoke a final no to Israel and turned his back on them. He had given them fair warning and plenty of time through the preaching of all his servants, the prophets. Then he exiled Israel from her land to Assyria, and that's where they are now. The king of Assyria brought in people from Babylon, Cuthah, Ava, Hamath, and Sepharvaim, and relocated them in the towns of Samaria, replacing the exiled Israelites. They moved in as far if they owned the place and made themselves at home. When the Assyrians first moved in, God was just another god to them. They neither honoured nor worshipped him. Then God sent lions among them, and the people were mauled and killed. This message was then sent back to the king of Assyria. The people you brought in to occupy the towns of Samaria don't know what's expected of them from the God of the land. And now he sent lions and they're killing people right and left because nobody knows what the God of the land expects of them. The king of Assyria ordered, send back some priests who were taken into exile from there. They can go back and live there and instruct the people in what the God of the land expects of them. One of the priests who had been exiled from Samaria came back and moved into Bethel. He taught them how to honour and worship God. But each people that Assyria had settled went ahead anyway, making its own gods and setting them up in the neighbourhood, sects and religious shrines that the citizens of Samaria had left behind. A local custom made God for each people. For Babylon, Sukkoth Benoth. For Hamath, Ashimah. For Avi, Nabhaz, and Tarka. For Sepharvaim, Adrimelech, and Animelech. People burned their children in sacrificial offering to these gods. They honoured and worshipped God, but not exclusively. They also appointed all sorts of priests, regardless of qualifications, to conduct a variety of rites at the local fertility shrines. They honoured and worshipped God, but they also kept up their devotion to the other gods of the place that they had come from. And they were still doing it, still worshipping any old god that has nostalgic appeal to them. They don't really worship God. They don't take seriously what he says regarding how to behave and what to believe, what he revealed to his children, to the children of Jacob, whom he named Israel. God made a covenant with his people and ordered them, don't honour other gods, don't worship them, don't serve them, don't offer sacrifices to them. Worship God, the God who delivered you from Egypt in great and personal power. Reverence and fear him, worship him, sacrifice to him and only him. All the things he had written down for you. directing you in what to believe and how to behave. Well, do them for as long as you live. And whatever you do, don't worship other gods. And the covenant he made with you, don't forget your part in that. And don't worship other gods. Worship God, and God only. He's the one who will save you from your enemy oppression. But they didn't pay attention. They didn't pay any attention. They kept doing what they'd always done. As it turned out, all the time these people were putting on a front of worshipping God. They were at the same time involved with their local idols, and they're still doing it, like father, like son.